I booked a massage, but the masseur had something else in mind. I booked a massage to ease the tension knotted deep within my shoulders, expecting warmth, serenity, and skilled hands to melt away the weight of my week. But the moment I stepped into that dimly lit room, something felt wrong. The air was too thick, the silence too heavy, like it was holding its breath. His eyes met mine, dark and unblinking, a smile stretched too thin to be genuine. I told myself it was nothing, just nerves, but then he locked the door behind me. My heart skipped, not from anticipation, but fear. This was not the massage I booked. The room smelled of lavender and warm oil. The dim lighting cast shadows that flickered like whispers against the walls. I remember feeling uneasy. I had booked this massage to escape, to silence the weight pressing against my chest, but something about the air in that small spa felt off. I had been running on empty for weeks. Work drained me and loneliness had become a dull ache that refused to leave. My friend said I needed a break, a moment to myself. A massage seemed like the perfect solution, something simple, something normal. But normal did not exist that night. The receptionist greeted me with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "You are here for the exclusive session, correct?" she asked, her voice soft but clipped. I hesitated. That was not what I had booked. "I just need a standard massage," I replied. My voice felt small in that room, swallowed by the scent of incense curling in the air. Her fingers tapped lightly on the desk. A pause, a glance at something unseen behind me. Then she nodded. "Of course, please follow me." I walked down a narrow hallway, the floorboards creaking beneath my steps. A single door waited at the end, slightly ajar. My masseur was inside, waiting. I stepped in. A man stood in the dim glow of candlelight, his silhouette lean and unmoving. His face, obscured in the half-light, turned slowly toward me, the shadows sculpting his features into something sharp, unreadable. "Lie down," he said. His voice was low, steady. Too steady. I hesitated. The air in the room was thick, pressing against my skin like damp cloth. I should have turned around. I should have left. But I did not. Instead, I climbed onto the table, my pulse tapping a slow, uncertain rhythm beneath my skin. The first touch was cold. I flinched. "Your hands. They will warm up," he said. Something about the way he spoke sent a ripple of unease through me. His fingers pressed firmly into my shoulders, kneading, searching. The sensation was neither painful nor pleasant. It felt deliberate, measured. Minutes passed, though they felt stretched, elongated beyond reason. My mind drifted in and out of awareness. The pressure changed, his hands tracing over my spine, lingering where they should not. I wanted to move, say something, but my body felt heavier than it should have. His voice came again, softer this time. "Relax." I tried to pull away. My limbs, slow, uncooperative, did not obey. My breath hitched. Something was wrong. That was when I realized I was not in control anymore. The pressure on my back deepened, slow, deliberate, almost calculated. My breathing felt uneven, my thoughts muffled, as if my mind were wading through thick fog. Something was not right. I tried to shift, to move my arms, but they barely responded. My limbs felt heavy, detached. My skin tingled where his hands lingered. A strange warmth pulsed beneath my flesh, spreading like ripples in still water. There was something unnatural about the way he touched me. He was not simply massaging, he was searching, probing. The oil he had used was not slick or smooth. It had a strange, almost viscous consistency, clinging to my skin in a way that felt wrong. I could feel it pooling under my muscles, almost as if it was seeping into me. I swallowed hard, my throat tightening with the urge to scream, but the sound would not come. His hands moved in rhythmic patterns, pulling and pressing at my skin, muscles groaning beneath the weight of his touch. It was no longer a massage. It was something far darker, far deeper. I could feel it now. Whatever it was moving inside me. I tried to speak, but my mouth felt dry, as though the air itself had become too thick to breathe. I need to stop, I managed, my voice barely a whisper, like a prisoner begging for freedom. But his hands never wavered. They pressed harder. I felt the muscles in my shoulders strain under his touch, my spine arching in ways that did not feel natural, did not belong. Shh, he murmured as if he were soothing a frightened animal, his voice soft, hypnotic, almost seductive. You are doing perfectly. Relax. I shook my head, trying to force my body to move. But it was like fighting against an unseen force. My skin, my muscles, my very bones were betraying me. I could feel the heaviness of my limbs and the tightness of my chest. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, louder, faster. It wasn't just fear anymore, it was terror. Suddenly his hands were no longer on my shoulders. They were at my spine, tracing the delicate curve of my back, the tips of his fingers pressing with an intensity that made my stomach lurch. The sensation was too much, too intimate. It felt invasive. No, please stop, I begged, my voice breaking with desperation. But my body, refused to listen. Every part of me felt like it was frozen, rooted to the table beneath me, unable to break free from the feeling of his touch. Just a little longer, he whispered, as if it were a promise, a command. You will feel better. You will feel better when it's done. What was he talking about? Done? What was he doing? The question spun in my mind, but I couldn't form the words to ask it. I tried to shift again, pushing against the table with what little strength I had left, but the effort was futile. My hands barely moved and my legs felt like stone. There was no escape. Then I felt it. Something shifted deep within me. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to send a wave of nausea curling through my stomach. The air seemed to crackle with an energy I couldn't explain. I could feel it, inside me, just under my skin. Something was moving. I inhaled sharply, my breath catching in my chest. Something was wrong, so wrong, but I couldn't put it into words. I wanted to scream, to run, to tear away from this, but I was trapped in my own body, suffocated by a force I couldn't see or touch. It wasn't just the physical touch anymore. It was something deeper, a presence. Something lurking just beneath the surface, in the oil, in the air around me. It was as if I were no longer alone in this room. It was as if something else was here, with us. Watching, waiting. I closed my eyes, praying that this would end, that I would wake up from this nightmare. But when I opened them again, nothing had changed. The shadows in the room had deepened, and the figure who had been standing beside me was now closer. I tried to look at him again, but my vision blurred, my thoughts fragmented, the world around me warping as though I were slipping away from it. His form, the masseur, I reminded myself, was somehow more fluid, shifting in and out of focus. His features twisted like a painting caught in a slow, maddening swirl. His eyes, no, not eyes, but pits of blackness, seemed to stare directly into me, pulling at the deepest parts of my being. And then I saw it. Movement. In the corner of the room. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, the shadows casting strange shapes. But as my vision cleared, I realized it was something else, something moving within the darkness, something not quite human, a figure. A thing. It was tall, impossibly tall, and yet its body was distorted, its outline rippling like liquid darkness. It stood there, silent and still, but it was watching me, watching us. My throat closed up. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The masseur's hand stopped. I couldn't move, couldn't even blink as his fingers pressed into the small of my back. His touch was cold now, colder than ice. I gasped, my chest tightening, but the air, it was thick. It was alive. "You're almost there," he whispered, his voice soft but laced with something sharp. "Just a little more." What did he mean? The shadows grew. They crept along the walls, stretching unnaturally, distorting the room. My thoughts scrambled. I needed to leave. Now, but I couldn't. I couldn't move. My hands shook violently, my fingers trembling like leaves in a storm, but I could not bring them to my face, to push away the stinging sensation in my eyes, the panic rising from my chest like a tidal wave. The shadows moved again. The figure, that thing, was closer now, its shape stretching, melding into something larger. Its form rippled with a fluidity that defied logic, its edges flickering between darkness and light, like the edges of a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound emerged. Nothing but a dry rasp that filled my throat with panic. "You're afraid?" The masseur's voice came, low and guttural now. "That's good. Fear is the gateway. Fear is what makes you real. It makes you—" His hands pressed deeper into my skin, the sensation crawling beneath me like 1,000 insects. "It makes you belong." I gasped. I tried to pull away again, but this time his fingers clamped down with such force that my body jolted, the sharp pain taking my breath away. "You cannot escape." His voice was a murmur now, cold, calm, like he was stating a fact. "There is no escape. You belong to this now." I felt it then, the sting beneath my skin. It wasn't just the pressure of his touch anymore. It was something worse, something colder. I could feel something inside me, moving. I tried to scream again, but my mouth was dry, the words trapped in the pit of my stomach, swirling with the darkness that had begun to overtake the room. The figure, it moved again, closer, closer. I closed my eyes, but that made it worse. The darkness in the room swallowed me, filling my mind, crawling into my thoughts. There was no escaping it now. And then the figure spoke. "Welcome to the end." The room closed in around me, its walls twisting like some cruel mockery of the world I once knew. The air was no longer just thick with incense and lavender. It was saturated with something else, something darker, something alive. My skin crawled with the sensation of being watched, observed, by eyes that were not my own. The figure in the corner, that thing, was no longer a vague shadow. It was growing, filling the space with its presence, suffocating me with its silent hunger. I tried to scream again, but my voice was strangled in my throat. The words refused to come. I was trapped in a nightmare, and every breath I took dragged me deeper into its suffocating grip. My chest tightened, panic clawing at my ribs, and my heart pounded like a war drum in my ears. The masseur's hands were still on me, no longer just pressing into my muscles, but digging into my skin, as though he were carving through to something beneath it. My body wasn't mine anymore. It felt alien, foreign, as though it was not my own flesh and bone that he was touching. But something else. His fingers pressed into my spine, sliding between the vertebrae, deep, as if searching for something hidden within. The pressure was unbearable. I gasped for air, but the room had become a vacuum, sucking away all the oxygen. I could feel the weight of the air pressing against me, pushing me deeper into the table. "No," I finally managed to choke out. "Stop! Please, stop!" But the words were hollow. He didn't stop. His grip only tightened, and the black void in the corner of the room grew, pulsing with an unnatural rhythm, as though it were breathing, alive, hungry, aware. The darkness in the corner was no longer a mere shadow. It had form now, twisting and writhing like a serpent. and the walls were moving with it, bending, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. I could feel it. The mass of dark energy that now inhabited the room. It wasn't just watching, it was inside me, inside my mind, inside my soul. My vision blurred, my eyes burning with tears I couldn't shed, and yet I could feel them. Hot, stinging, filling my eyes. I could no longer tell if the room was real or if I had crossed into some kind of twisted dream where logic, time, and space held no power. I told you, you cannot escape. The masseur's voice was a whisper now, barely audible, but it carried a weight, a finality, that pressed against my skull like an iron vice. You are already with me. With you, I gasped, my breath ragged, my body trembling in every possible direction. What do you want from me? What are you? He laughed. A low, guttural sound that crawled up my spine, leaving a trail of cold behind it. What I want? That is not what matters anymore. You see, you are not the first. You won't be the last. The words sunk into my brain like poison. I wanted to scream to break free, but the room, the space around me was changing. The shadows in the corners of the room stretched out like tendrils, and I could hear them whispering now. Faint, distant voices that I couldn't place. I didn't know who they were or where they came from, but they felt familiar, like lost memories or forgotten souls calling out for help. The figure in the corner began to move toward me. Slowly, fluidly, like liquid shadow, it glided across the floor without sound, its limbs long and twisted, but perfectly formed, wrongly perfect. Every movement was too smooth, too unnatural. As it neared me, I could feel the temperature in the room drop, the air thick with something that was no longer just cold. It was a hunger, an insatiable thirst for something that I couldn't name. I could not move. My limbs, my mind, my very will were frozen. Help me! I gasped, a single desperate plea. The room spun faster, the figure closer now, its presence pressing down on me with unbearable force. The masseur's hands were everywhere. His fingers, no longer just on my back, now slid across my arms, my sides, as if claiming every inch of me. His touch was icy now, colder than I had ever imagined it could be. It wasn't physical anymore, it was something else. I could feel it worming into my skin, spreading through my veins like oil, coating my thoughts like sludge. He leaned close, his breath hot against my ear. You have always belonged to us. You just didn't know it. Suddenly I felt the ground beneath me shift. The floor moved, the table beneath me buckled. I screamed, finally, my voice breaking the suffocating silence that had held me captive for what felt like an eternity. I tried to rise, tried to fight against the pull of the darkness, but I was locked in place, my limbs still chained to the table, my body no longer mine to command. I could see the figure now, fully. It was not human, not anything I could recognize. Its face was featureless, a void that consumed the very light around it. Its body, if it could even be called a body, was contorted, twisted like the shattered remains of a thing that was never meant to exist. Its form flickered and pulsed like a dying star, flickering in and out of focus, growing ever more tangible with every passing second. The shadows enveloped me. The room seemed to collapse inward, suffocating me in its embrace. The walls seemed to bleed, as if reality itself were beginning to break apart. I could hear it now. The voices. They were louder, rising in a cacophony of whispers, chants, screams, all crashing together, a maddening symphony. Please, I whispered, choking on the words, feeling the cold touch of the darkness crawling up my arms into my chest. I don't want to be here. I want to go home, please. But the thing, it did not answer. It simply watched as the darkness inside me grew, bloomed like a poison. Do you feel it? The masseur's voice was so close now, I could feel it inside my very skull. Do you feel what is awakening inside you? What you have always been destined to be? I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but the shadow, the figure, had me now. Its tendrils wrapped around my limbs, around my mind. I could feel it seeping into me, filling the empty places inside me with a kind of dark, foreign power. Power. I wasn't sure what was happening anymore, but I could feel it, the shift. My body was changing. My skin burned with a strange, unfamiliar heat. My veins, once red, now pulsed with an eerie golden light, glowing beneath the surface like molten lava. The thing in the corner stretched its arms toward me, its claws, if they could be called claws, reaching for my face, for my soul. The world blurred, the air thick with the weight of becoming, and I realized I was becoming it. And then, in that moment, I felt it. I felt the awakening, the thing inside me, the hunger, the call. It was no longer outside. It was me. The air was different now, heavier, charged with the unspoken weight of something that had shifted, something irreversible. I could feel the tremors deep in my chest, the remnants of what had been. It was still inside me, the darkness, the hunger, the power. I looked at my hands, trembling, unsure if they were truly mine anymore. The light from the candles flickered, casting distorted shadows across the walls, distorting everything. My reflection, if I could call it that, shimmered in the glass of the massage table. It was no longer just my face I saw. There were cracks, fissures in the reflection, as if the image itself was splitting apart, threatening to collapse under the weight of what had just happened. The shadows in the room, my room, moved with purpose. They weren't just shadows, they were alive. I could feel them reaching toward me, pulling at me, urging me to embrace them. I could feel the power coursing through my veins now, as if the darkness had become a part of me, a necessary part. It had always been there, waiting for the right moment, waiting for me to accept it. I hadn't wanted this. I hadn't asked for it. But now it was inside me. I could not run from it anymore. It was me. And I could hear it, the call, the whisper that had been haunting me from the moment I stepped into that room. It was stronger now, reverberating through the very marrow of my bones. The figure, the thing, I could feel it pulling at the deepest parts of me. It wanted something from me. It needed something from me. My heart hammered in my chest, but it wasn't the same fear as before. No, this was different. It was familiar. It was the kind of fear that only comes from knowing that something has changed within you, something that cannot be undone. You are not alone. The masseur's voice came again, but this time it wasn't the same soft, hypnotic tone. No, it was something more primal, more visceral. It was the voice of something alive, something dark. I looked up. His eyes, no, not eyes, just pits of blackness, deeper than any void I had ever seen. He was standing in front of me now, his figure solid, his presence suffocating. And there, just beyond him, the shadow, the thing, was standing tall, still, its form now clear, undeniable. You did this. I gasped, my voice cracking, barely audible. You made me this. He tilted his head, his lips curling in a smile that didn't quite fit his face. Number you were always this. You simply didn't know it. The words slammed into me like a physical blow. It felt like my chest was being caved in, the weight of the truth too much to bear. The feeling of the darkness, the thing, settling inside me like a poison that had always been a part of me, waiting for the right moment to take control. I wanted to scream, to fight, to tear myself away from the shadows that were wrapping themselves around my limbs like chains, but I couldn't move, I couldn't think. The power was too strong, too seductive. The thing in the corner, the shadow, started to move, slowly, with purpose, its form stretched, its limbs elongating, growing taller, its blackened tendrils slithering across the floor like a sea of oil. I felt the pull again, deeper this time, a compulsion to step toward it, to join it, to become one with it. I tried to fight it. I fought with every ounce of strength I had left, but the power was overwhelming. It wasn't just a physical force, it was mental, spiritual. I could feel it gnawing at the edges of my mind, pushing me toward it, toward them. "You cannot resist," the masseur whispered, his voice now echoing in the room, bouncing off the walls, the shadows, the air itself. "You never could." And for the first time, I knew he was right. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about us, the darkness, the thing that had always been waiting, always been inside me. And now it was waking in ways that terrified me and thrilled me in equal measure. The room shifted again. The walls bent inward, closing around me like a suffocating embrace. The shadows stretched further, moving, creeping, inching closer. My breath caught in my throat. It was like being pulled underwater, unable to scream, unable to break free. But this was different. The darkness didn't feel like drowning. It felt like home. I could hear the voices again, clearer now, rising from the shadows. They were calling to me. I couldn't understand their words, but I could feel their longing, their hunger, their need. The thing in the corner, the thing was closer now. Its claws, if they could even be called claws, were stretching toward me, each finger long and jagged like the tips of broken glass. My body trembled, but I didn't step back. I didn't run. There was no running anymore. The masseur's eyes locked onto mine. "Embrace it," he said, his voice thick with an unnatural certainty. "You were always meant for this. You were always meant to be one of us." My breath hitched. I wanted to say something, anything, to scream, to fight, to claw my way out of this, but the words got stuck in my throat. I could feel the darkness now. It was like liquid fire flowing through my veins. It burned, it throbbed inside me, and I was too weak to fight it. And then, with a force I could not understand, I stepped forward. I didn't want to. I didn't want to become them, to be one with the shadows, but the pull was too strong. It wasn't my body that moved. It was something else, something deep inside me, something that had always been waiting for this moment to break free. I reached out. My fingers brushed against the cold, slick surface of the thing's form, and as soon as they touched it, a flood of memories, no visions, flooded my mind. I saw things that didn't belong to me. Visions of dark places, ancient rituals, faces twisted in agony, and countless lives lost to the hunger that I was now a part of. I could see the others, the ones who had come before me, the ones who had embraced the darkness long before I had ever stepped foot in this room. And I understood. This was what I had been destined for. This was what I had always been. It wasn't a curse. It wasn't a mistake. It was who I was. And I could feel it now, the full weight of what I had become. The power, the hunger, the darkness, the thing, the shadow opened its mouth, a mouth that was no longer just a void. It was a twisted, jagged slit that split its face in half, revealing a darkness deeper than anything I could imagine. And it spoke. "You are one of us now." There is something about darkness that changes you, not just in the way you see the world, but in the way the world sees you. I am not the same person who walked into that massage parlor. That version of me is gone, swallowed whole, stripped away like layers of skin peeled back to reveal something new, something ancient, something that was always waiting beneath the surface. I left that room, but I did not walk away. I became something else, and I do not know if I will ever understand what that truly means. I feel it now, every second, every breath it is inside me. The darkness is no longer something I fear. It is no longer something lurking in the corner of my vision, hiding just out of reach. No. Now it is part of me. It is in my pulse, in the way my fingers twitch when I think too deeply about what happened that night. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the mirror, I do not recognize myself. My face, my own face, feels foreign, as if my skin is just a mask stretched too tightly over something else, something that isn't human. My eyes, I swear they are darker now. Not in color, but in depth. When I look into them, I see shadows. I see them, and worse, I hear them. At night, when the world is quiet, I can still hear the whispering. It calls to me, beckoning in a language I do not understand, but feel deep in my bones. The words are not words. They are thoughts, memories, echoes of something far older than I am. They tell me I am not alone. They remind me that I never was. There are others. I see them sometimes, on the streets, in crowded places. People who do not move quite right. People whose eyes linger a second too long, whose shadows stretch just a little too far. They know, they see me too. I do not know what I've become. I do not know if this feeling, this hunger, will ever go away. I wonder, was this always my fate? Did I choose this, or was I simply following a path that was carved for me long before I ever existed? Maybe that is the worst part, not knowing if I had a choice at all. And if I didn't, if this was always meant to happen, then who was I before? Did that version of me ever truly exist? Or was I just a hollow shell waiting to be filled? I cannot shake the feeling that I left something behind in that room, a piece of me that I can never get back. Or maybe I did get it back. Maybe I was never whole until that moment. Maybe this is what I was always supposed to be. I still dream of that night. The candlelight flickering, the scent of lavender thick in the air, the feeling of my body, my own body, betraying me. The moment I realized I was not in control. But was I ever in control? Or had something else been waiting, watching, whispering from the shadows of my own mind, guiding me toward this moment all along? I want to tell myself that I am still me, that I can fight this, that I can pretend to be normal, that I can live my life as if nothing has changed. But then I see my reflection shift when I am not moving. Then I hear a voice whisper my name when no one is there. Then I feel the darkness hum beneath my skin, alive, restless, waiting. And I know the truth. I can never go back. The question is, would I even if I could? Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. And tell me, have you ever felt like something was watching you? Something you could not see but could feel? Maybe you were right all along.